I love great conversations. Hi, my name is Angel Jones. Thank you for joining me on 12-minute convos where I help you create a brand of your own unique, real self. Listen in as I have conversations with amazing people from all over the world. Good night, Roger Nairn. How are you going on this wonderful, beautiful night?
I am fantastic. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's a great pleasure to connect with you, Roger. It's a great pleasure.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah. What part of the world are you in right now?
I'm in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada.
Oh, super. And which of your talents is responsible for us connecting at this time?
It would be my curiosity. I'm the host of the Solution Podcast, which is a weekly show where I get to interview all sorts of problem solvers in the world, and it's my curiosity that allows me to really constantly be reaching out and interested in speaking with all sorts of different people. And I think it's similar to yourself as well.
Yes.
Yes. I also work in the advertising and design industry where it's so important to constantly remain curious on a regular basis.
So is there someone like in your family that was also curious to where you were curious, or who did you learn this from?
Yeah, it was my dad. Growing up, my dad always challenged me to ask as many questions as possible, but not just ask questions. He really taught me that it's important to learn about a whole range of different things and not become too focused and myopic on one specific subject matter. So in my house, we would learn about baseball one day and we'd learn about, the war the next day. And then we talk about science the next day and talk about politics the day after that. We didn't really focus on a specific topic. We were very, very broad and wide.
So where did you come up with the name the Solution Podcast from?
Yeah, so I asked myself what's a topic that I'm interested in, and that was learning about people that have solved problems. And I reached out to my community and I asked them, what is something that you'd be interested in seeing? And some of the responses I got back was, there's a lot of negativity in the world right now, but I want to learn more about I want to learn more about some really cool, interesting, creative things people are doing, and essentially I want to learn about some of the problems that are being solved. And so the whole idea of the Solution Podcast is I interview people that have seen a problem in the world, but then designed a solution for that problem, and then ultimately we talk about the results that they're either hoping to get or are currently getting.
You said that, and a memory just popped up in my mind. I remember a teacher. So we have standards. So standard 5 is just around 11. So I'm guessing it's the equivalent to 6th grade, right? And I was in standard 5, and I remember telling a teacher something, and it was like stating a problem. And she told me, she said, if you don't have the solution, you should never state the problem. It's like, ooh, right?
Love that.
Yeah, it's really intriguing. Love that.
Smart teacher.
Yeah, smart teacher.
And I'm a big believer. I'm a big believer that we're all capable of solving, all sorts of problems, big and small. And really, a lot of it comes down to having an understanding of the problem itself, and that taps in also to my creative side when it comes to both the assessment of what the problem is, but also the development of what that solution is. The broader our minds are, and the more in tune we are with a whole bunch of different possibilities, then the easier and more diverse our solutions become.
Yeah, love that. Suggest to someone that's listening why they should do what you've done by I love the way that you said, I reached out to my peeps, right? My people, and asked them what they wanted, which is it's like you're reverse engineering the solution, right? But suggest to someone who's listening why they should even consider having that type of communication before they bring to market something.
Well, I mean, podcasting is a really interesting medium. I have a lot of fun doing it, and it's a real passion of mine, and much like I'm sure your podcast is a passion of yours. But at the end of the day, I'm not doing these interviews just for myself. I'm doing it for the community at large. I'm doing it for my listeners. And so when I reach out to my community and I ask them what are they interested in listening to, what I'm really doing is is asking them, what value can I provide to you? And I think that's from my marketing and advertising background, is that I'm constantly thinking about my target audience or my market or my community, and really whatever I do has to have value and has to help people. That's a big core of who I am, and what makes me happy is what sort of value am I providing and how am I helping my community. So it only made sense to me that if I'm going to start a podcast, and in order for a podcast to be successful, you have to have listeners. Well, I might as well make a podcast that is interesting to listen to, and people are going to want to come back week after week.
Great move, Roger. Great move. But tell me one other thing that you've done consistently over the last 3 years, please.
Yeah. So I have a little theory, and I don't think this is a new theory exactly, but I treat every relationship that I encounter like a bank account. A bank account, just like money, you put in deposits and you take out withdrawals. Well, at the end of the day, I try to make as many deposits into my relationship bank accounts with everybody than I do take out withdrawals. So I'm constantly assessing the relationships in my life and the people around me to determine whether I have made more deposits than withdrawals. And if I've made more withdrawals and I've got some work to do, and I shore up my relationships, and I make sure that I'm giving back more than I am taking. And it's kind of always been a bit of a consistent sort of mental GPS that I'm constantly kind of thinking about whether I'm providing enough value and helping out people more than I am taking.
How does that make you feel?
I mean, it makes me feel great. It makes me feel like all of my personal relationships are healthy and that I'm giving more than receiving.
Why would you suggest someone that's listening do exactly that?
Yeah, I think because our time on Earth is short. Let's be honest. And the more healthy our relationships are, the more we're able to give back, and the less we're taking from each other, and the more we're just giving. I think the more valuable that our time is going to be on this earth. I'm a big believer that it's important that we have positive, healthy relationships with one another, and so I'm constantly encouraging myself and the people around me to be thinking about that.
Wow. Well, amazing audience. We are live with Roger Nairn. Roger, say your last name for me, please.
Roger, it's Nairn.
Yeah, it just sounds better when it's you saying it. Yeah.
it's very nasally.
Yeah. So he is the podcast host of the Solution Podcast. You could definitely check that out. Is there a website you'd like to point us to?
Yeah, thesolutionpodcast.com.
Love it. It's so simple. It's the solution, right? I love it. Love it. Roger, well, let's switch gears for a moment now, and let me invite you into my time machine that is surrounded with beautiful, warm, blue Caribbean water. Roger, what is your earliest childhood memory?
My earliest childhood memory, I was sitting at a table with my grandma, and we were doing a puzzle together. And I remember it was just the two of us. And I remember it because she was telling me that my sister was about to be brought home from the hospital. She had just been born. And so my first memory is me expecting and waiting and being excited about my little baby sister coming on board. Wow,
that's amazing. You're probably like the fifth person that expressed a child coming home today.
Oh, interesting. Interesting.
Yeah, it's really intriguing. I'd like to get a statistician to like jump in here and help me with this, because it's fascinating to me, right? But nevertheless, can I offer an interpretation? Or before I ask that, have you connected the dots to that memory?
Have I connected the dots?
Yeah, to what you do now, how you live now, to that memory. Have you done that?
I have never. I'd be interested to see
how it connects to you.
Exactly.
Yeah, all right, well, let me ask the question. Can I offer an interpretation to the thought picture you created in my mind?
Absolutely.
I love, just like the young lady I spoke to right before you, the belief that your grandmother would have had in you by taking the time to teach you how to do something, right? Understanding that just like the puzzles of life, you do hold the solution. It's just intriguing to me how that occurred.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
You're welcome. If we fast forward to when you were 12, what was your favorite song?
It was the song "I Would Do Anything for Love" by Meatloaf.
Yeah, it's one of the best ways to bring about a solution, folks, to do it with love.
Totally.
Well, Roger, we've arrived at our destination, but before we get off of this time machine, there's a small declaration form. So it's yes or no, possibly a bit more. We're going to move pretty quickly here. Are you ready?
I am.
Roger, have you chosen someone to pass on your skills to?
Yeah, I think my listeners.
Are you married?
I am.
Do you have children?
I don't have children, but I'm happy to announce that we are expecting our first child in the very beginning of May. Yeah. Super exciting.
Congratulations. What's your wife's name?
My wife's name is Allison.
Allison, congratulations. All the best to you. Do you have an inner circle of friends?
You know, I would say not on a personal level. I would say, though, that my wife and I have an inner circle of friends that we stick pretty close with. I will be perfectly honest and say that I feel like the older I get, the less tight my circle of friends become, and that's something that I'm trying to work on and try to improve.
It's going to open up with that young one that's coming.
Exactly. Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
I believe in something. I'm not sure what that is, though.
Do you watch TV for more than 3 hours a day?
I would say yes, and I'd say that that's increased now that my wife is pregnant. We're spending a lot more time at home on the couch than we are out socializing too much.
Yeah, you rub that belly, my friend. Rub that belly. Tell me about screen time. Is it more than 8 or less than 8 hours a day?
I'd say it's more than 8.
All right. After 1,001 conversations in 3 months, Roger, I came up with a workbook. This was in 2016. All right. I wrote this. I did the 1,001 conversations. The name of the workbook is called Yours. It stands for Your Own Unique Real Self. And the idea is you answer questions similar to these that I asked you here, with the idea of expanding or connecting on your own unique real statement, which is your mission. If you, Roger, had to share with us your own unique real statement, a statement that represents Roger Nairn, what would you say that is?
I would say I am recklessly curious.
I love it. Roger, this has been a great pleasure, my friend. Before you leave, is there anything else you'd like to share with our amazing audience?
Keep asking questions and don't stop exploring.
Again, Roger, all the best to you, my friend. Roger Nairn, thank you for being on what is inspired by 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones.
Thanks, Angel.
Thank you for being on 12-Minute Convos with Angel Jones. Stay tuned for more from our advertisers.
Diabetes is a mountain pandemic. It's a disease that's not acute but chronic. Similar to this rhyming method, I have simplified the definition, the signs and symptoms, and the complications of diabetes for both adults and children in my books, Poems for Patients, A Focus on Diabetes, and The ABCs of Diabetes for Children. These books are available on Amazon.com, and for more information, you can visit my website, poemsbyaj.com. That's poemsbyaj.com.